What's up, everyone? It's Matt Martin with the Grass Factor. Today, wanted to do a presentation about Nutsedge. Since we're moving into that time of year where it's going to be ever present and seemingly coming out of nowhere, I think it's a perfect time to really dive into it and talk about ways to potentially control it. So with this presentation, I want to talk about a couple of different things. One would be a quote-unquote prevention model, and I will say that loosely. It's not purely a prevention model like a pre-emergent would act, but there can be products on the market that do have pre-qualities. I want to talk about what the problem is with our current SEDGE model and why it's not working. I want to talk about the products that are available to us, the chemistries, the efficacy of those chemistries, and I want to talk about building new SEDGE programs. And like I said, part of that would encompass the prevention part of it. What we typically do now for professional applicators is we mix up a backpack, we go spot spray and pray. That's for you, Alan Hain, and you hope you caught all of it. You go back to the office, you forget about the lawn, and then you get called for a service call. And the problem with this entire model is that, one, service calls cost time and money. You got the time to go back out there and the money to reapply the herbicide. Service calls give the customers doubt. They begin to start to question your competency as an applicator. And is it really that sedges are that hard to kill, or is it our model, the way we're trying to kill them, that's actually wrong? So if you look at the plant here, you're dealing with rhizomes and tubers and nutlets. You can see these rhizomes already have decent length, and that's a pretty small plant there, but they can move an incredibly large area. And so the problem is that you may be applying to only 3 to 4 inches of leaf surface, but you're expected to translocate all that material for, maybe a dozen feet. And that's a lot of herbicide to have to move from that leaf tissue through that much of a root system. And typically, herbicide mobility is limited by law. And what I mean by that, I'm not talking about mobility within the plant. I'm talking about mobility in the soil. Don't pull your nutsedge. I'm operating under the impression that that is a known and a given. If you get the desire to do it, don't do it. And then we'll talk about when we apply foliar. Again, you're relying on leaf uptake. But what if we switched our model from spot treating areas of nutsedge to more of a high volume or soil applied herbicide? Could we rely on that point, even though we have limited mobility from the actual chemistry of the herbicide, but could we get enough mobility from it to affect the emergence of that sedge species? So we'll look at the most popular products that are on the market right now. And I think everybody has used at least the majority of these at some point. There's some new ones on here, particularly Dismiss NXT. But everything else has been around for a while, except also maybe Solero. Solero is a newer product by NuFarm, Valent, IMAZOSULFURON. If you use any of these products on here, Q4 Plus, that is not a nutsedge control product. If you're getting control out of nutsedge with it, wait until you switch to a real nutsedge control product. T-Zone, again, not a nutsedge control product. If you're getting control from nutsedge with it, imagine the results you get when you switch to a real one. Tribute Total is a nutsedge control product. The main active ingredient in that does the heavy lifting is the halosulfuron methyl. Solitaire, it is not a nutsedge control product, but the rate of sulfentrazone that is in Solitaire at the max rate is high enough to control sedges. Blindside again at the high rate has enough sulfentrazone to get adequate control of sedges. And of course, Dismiss NXT, which also has a high enough rate of sulfentrazone. Surge, if you use Surge, don't use Surge. Surge, in my opinion, is not even really worth being on the market. It's a fine product. It does great, but the cost versus what you could make rolling your own are just two totally different selling points, and you can make a product like Surge for a third of the cost. So in my opinion, I would always roll my own. It's not that there's technically anything wrong with Surge. It's just that for what you get versus what you're paying for are two separate sides of the coin. So this here is an efficacy chart, and this is going to show the performance of these herbicides based on field trials. And you can see here, at the top we've got Q4 plus, and if you look at these ratings for annual sedge, poor, Kalinga, poor, purple nutsedge, poor, yellow nutsedge, fair. So in terms of the actual control you're getting, is not really getting control. That would be closer to a suppression. Basagran, you get some good control on your yellow nutsedge and your annual sedge, but on your Kalinga and your purple species, you're not really getting adequate control. And then we move into things like Tower. Tower is not going to be super popular on the market because I don't think it has a residential label. Freehand, again, that's mainly for bed prevention of nutsedge. If you look, you get good, fair, okay on your annual and your yellow nutsedge species. Then we start moving into the sulfonyl urea. So flazosulfuron, halosulfuron, Solero is not actually iodosulfuron. That's actually IMAZOSULFURON. This chart is incorrect. I think I got this from, this may have been a Purdue. I'm going to go ahead and blame Purdue right now. I think this is a Purdue chart that I just marked over with my own stuff here. But that's actually IMAZOSULFURON, not iodosulfuron. Iodosulfuron is the active ingredient in Celsius, which is not a sedge control product. So anyway, we'll move on. IMAZOSULFURON, mesotrione, tenacity. But you see here, poor, good. But mesotrione is not a sulfonyl urea. So we'll focus on these right here. The other one down here is sulfosulfuron, which is actually a great product too. And you can see that, some of these, you can start to question about the pre-effects you'll have on it. And if you look at the overall control, you're looking at something that seems to be a good performer here, right? So we look at halosulfuron, good to excellent, right? IMAZOSULFURON, there's good, excellent. We look at sulfosulfuron, good, excellent. So, this lines up pretty much with what you see with in-field experience here. But I want you to notice some other things that don't look so good. Tenacity with nutsedge, not very good. You get metolachlor for pennant magnum. Now, this is known for its pre-effects. You get good, fair, good. You could put that away in your pocket as a good product, a good tool to have in your toolbox to combat things like sedge prevention. Sulfentrazone, you see it tends to struggle here with purple nutsedge, but can you time that to get the kind of results you're looking for? You're good on your annual sedges and excellent on your yellow nutsedges. Your Kalinga species are okay, and purple seems to be where it struggles. Surge, no good. Stay away from it. T-zone, no good. Stay away from it. Trifloxysulfuron, this is my absolute favorite product. Good, excellent, good. I love it. I think it's fantastic for warm season turf, Bermuda in particular. So when we look at this, there's without a doubt, there's two chemistries that really dominate that list. Sulfonyl ureas, that's going to be your Monument, Katana, Certainty, and Sedgehammer, and then your PPOIs. Those are going to be things that contain Dismiss or sulfentrazone, like Dismiss NXT, your Solitaire, just Dismiss. How do we use these in combination with one another to get the greatest result? So in my opinion, you have to take sedge control as a program approach. You can't take it as something that you just go and you do a little squirt in here and call it good. Now, again, let me preface this by saying that there are some instances where you only have 2 plants in the yard, then yeah, go spray. But if you're dealing with a 10,000 square foot yard, 4,000 square feet of it is covered in nutsedge, I would not be out there with a backpack hunting and pecking for each individual plant. You're going to miss them. You're going to get a call back. So this is where it would be a perfect example to do something like a sedge program. Build a program, charge for it because it's not cheap. So now that we have that, let's see what that actual program looks like. So when it comes to running a program, it's important to know your timing of your applications based on your herbicide and the mode of action. And if we look at this chart here, basically this just shows on growing degree days, typically when you're dealing with the majority of your emergence. So it would be somewhere around that 1,000 growing degree days when you know you've got 80% of your emergence. So when you're going to make that application as a pre, so for instance, we're talking about a PPOI like sulfentrazone, you want to time it before you get to that 1,000 degree growing degree day. However, if we are doing it with a sulfonylurea and utilizing the longevity in the soil, we may want to do that closer to 1,000 growing degree days. And since we talked about sulfentrazone and using it as a pre-emergent, this is a chart on pre-efficacy. This is 12 ounces to the acre in a single application. And if you look here, you can see the effect of the herbicide on the number of dead tubers in a pot. And so sulfentrazone clearly had the highest number of dead tubers. What's interesting is that even Harrells did have some of a pre-effect, especially when compared to the control, as did imazapic, but we're not going to be using that in residential turf. But clearly the big winner here is the 12 ounce per acre rate of sulfentrazone. Now, when we're talking about Pinnate Magnum, followed by Monument, followed by Sedgehammer. So this would be more of a program type approach. Yellow nutsedge density was lowest in the treatment, receiving Pinnate Magnum pre, Monument post. So you're talking about 2 applications there, but it was very similar to Pinnate Magnum pre, Monument post, followed by Monument post. Clearly, with this type program approach, we're talking about long-term control of nutsedge, using a pre to get your initial stop, followed by a post-emergent to give that longevity of that type product. So we'll look at IMAZOSULFURON. This is Solero. Solero applied at 4.8, 6.4, and 8 ounces of active ingredient to the acre. That'd be 6.4 ounces of Solero, 8.5 ounces of Solero, and 10.6. And as you can see, done pre, you were getting some pretty decent control at the high rate, 83%, 99%, 90% over three tests over 2 years. That's pretty good. That's 21 days after initial treatment there. Then if we look at a pre-application followed by a post-application, you're getting really, really good control at 95, 99, and 100%. And then we can look at some of the other efficacy trials here where you're looking at, what's this first one here? We've got we've got Pinnate Magnum pre, Solero post, followed by Pinnate Magnum pre, and 94, 99, and 100%. So this kind of gives you an idea of the types of products that are being used in these pre-emergent type situations. Rimsulfuron, that would be the active ingredient that's now in negate. Now, the rate used here in this pre-emergent efficacy trial is going to be completely different than the rate you see in Rimsulfuron. So, not to get sidetracked there, but this just shows Solero as pre- and post-emergent control on sedges and how well it does. This is at 21 days after treatment. So we extend that out to 42 days after treatment, and we'll see how that affected it. So again, single applications at 10.6 ounces of Solero per acre at 42 days after treatment, you're still at 84, 96, 97, and 83%. That is good. And if we look at the high rate here stretched out as pre and post, we're still at 96, 99, 96, and 83. That is good. And then we look over here with the Pinnate Magnum trials, 96, 99, 97, 86. Not a lot of difference from just IMAZOSULFURON alone used as a pre or a pre-post program. So You can see where sequential applications here, will extend that duration, but still give you an incredibly high level of control. So when we're talking about putting it into a program, let's actually start looking at programs put together. Now, I talked about in that efficacy trial where 12 ounces to the acre of sulfentrazone showed good pre-quality. Do not go apply 12 ounces per acre of sulfentrazone. That's over label rate. So you can break it up into multiple applications. An easy way to do that that's flexible between warm and cool season grass is to do 4 ounces to the acre. And so you can do 3 sequential applications 30 days apart at 4 ounces to the acre and get that effect that you're looking for. So we'll say in my area here in Knoxville, that would be mid-April, mid-May, mid-June, 4 ounces to the acre each time, giving you a total of 12 ounces to the acre. You get that soil residual to keep that suppressive effect on your nutsedge. Now, we'll say that's going to be 83, 86% effective. If you need it in July through August, you can make another blanket application of something like halosulfuron that's still going to be cool season safe. Again, this would be safe on cool season and also warm season grass. And then we start moving over to purely just warm season. We may go out mid-April with a blanket application of trifloxysulfuron, also known as Monument. And then follow it up, and we can double up on active ingredients because in one of my previous presentations, we talked about how combining active ingredients gave the greatest overall control, plus reduce your risk of herbicide resistance by as much as 85%. So second application would be a combination of both certainty and dismiss. You may not need that application in mid-June. And then if you have to follow up with something, then you can follow up later with an application of sulfentrazone. If you still see it in mid-June, then you could bump that application up there. I will say sulfentrazone does not work as late in the season as it does early in the season. So the other thing you may want to do is another application of sulfosulfuron or another application of halosulfuron instead. And here we have Pennant Magnum in warm season programs. So first application, Pennant Magnum, 1.3 pints. Second application, Pennant Magnum. And then third application, sulfentrazone. But we also threw sulfentrazone in with the second application. We're going 6 ounces and 6 ounces, getting that total of 12 ounces down. And then if we're going to go over to, for cool season turf, we got Solero, full rate, 14 ounces to the acre out of the gun. Mid-May, we'll go 6 ounces per acre sulfentrazone. Mid-June, 6 ounces acre for sulfentrazone. Now, keep that in mind. 6 ounces per acre on cool season turf is going to yellow it. That's going to ding it. So you would have to save this for worst case situation and notify the customer that when you make this application, you're definitely going to discolor the turf. I talk about burn and return. That's a burn and return application. Here we got Pennant Magnum, and followed by Solero, followed by Monument. This, in my opinion, would probably be a 100% controlled type program. We look here, which would be IMAZOSULFURON, Solero, followed by Certainty, followed by Monument. In my opinion, that would be 100% control. We'll talk about some of the products that are out there. Echelon. Echelon is just prodiamine plus sulfentrazone. That is part of a program. So if you start with Echelon, you have to follow it up with more sulfentrazone to get your 12 ounces per acre down. So we'll say you use the rate of Echelon that gives you 4 ounces per acre of dismiss, then follow it up. If you apply that in mid-April, then make your second application mid-May of 4 ounces to the acre of just dismiss, and then your third application mid-June of dismiss at 4 ounces to the acre. Rescue applications. This is something you inherit. You inherit a product and it's completely covered head to toe, and you want some place to start. You want to wow them. Combine active ingredients. Here I list, run a combination product of dismiss and sedge hammer. You would be surprised and amazed at how well that actually works. You can use something like sulfentrazone or carfentrazone, Quicksilver, with Monument. That would work extremely well. Monument is known for being a little bit slow. Having that PPOI in there will speed up the overall effect from it. Combining dismiss plus certainty. That would give you a really quick and very effective long-term control. or using sulfentrazone with mesotrone. You're mixing up 2 different active ingredients, 2 different modes of action here, and you will get a greater efficacy over just a single by itself. So anyway, I hope this helps somebody. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments down below. And also, if you don't mind, please hit that subscribe button. That's what lets me know to keep doing these types of videos. All right, everybody, I sure do appreciate it. Y'all take it easy.